So look, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I did sit down to watch some of the second round of the 2025 NBA draft. I spent like 45 minutes on the couch watching a little bit of it, and it was like 90% commercials, 10% draft. It is what it is, but I did sit down with a little bit of hope, a little optimism, especially now that the East is wide open, thinking maybe the Cavs would come out of it with something meaningful. And look, I'll admit it, I talked myself into a few guys. I knew better, but I still did it. I let myself get attached to names, to fit, to scenarios, and when you do that, you're just begging to get heartbroken or just not be happy. But I actually thought overall that the Cavs did a pretty good job with what they had, only having the 49th overall pick and then obviously number 58, I believe it was. I think it was second to last. They didn't have much to work with, but I thought they got some potential, and I'm not just going to go around saying that just because obviously I'm a Cavs fan. Obviously I'm biased and I'm going to be hyped about any new prospect, but I really think that Tyrese Proctor is a solid player. I watched a lot of Duke basketball in 2024. He's an absolute sniper, so I think the Cavs got something good, and I'm going to talk about it. And then they of course also got Niang with that second to last pick, which I thought was funny. Who needs a G-Wagon when you can have an S-Wagon? Obviously the guy they picked is not going to be on the team. He's probably going to be stashed overseas, but still, you never know. I mean, Nikola Jokic got picked during a Taco Bell commercial or something, so you can't sleep on the second round picks. Every now and then there is a stud that comes out of it. But in this video, I want to talk about the good and the bad. Let's start with the good. With the 49th pick, the Cavaliers of course selected Tyrese Proctor out of Duke, and all things considered, I actually liked it. I thought it made a ton of sense, especially when you start piecing together the writing on the wall, which is that Sam Merrill or Ty Jerome was going to be the odd man out, and the ESPN guys were hyping him up as the pick happened, talking about how many teams that had late round position wanted to be in the Cavs spot to get this guy. And with this pick, it's looking more and more like Sam Merrill is going to be the one on his way out. Obviously, Merrill is a guy that has had his fun moments, but I think his time has come and gone. Proctor's a little bigger. He has a longer wingspan. He's more switchable. Even though Sam Merrill throughout last year really did start to improve on the defensive end, I gotta give credit where credit is due, especially in the playoffs. I thought he was actually one of the Cavs' best defenders, but you can see how the front office saw that as a natural fit moving forward. The Proctor pick wasn't some big swing for the fences type of move, but it was solid, and for a second rounder, that's all you can really ask for. In this video, I want to break down Tyrese Proctor and what the Cavaliers are getting out of the 49th pick in the draft and what it means for the team moving forward now that the East is wide open in 2026. But before I do begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 60,000 subscribers, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright. So Proctor had a strong final year, and I mean very strong final year at Duke. He was at about 12.4 points per game. He shot over 45% from the field and 40.5% from 3 on nearly 6 attempts per night, and that's real efficiency. And he wasn't one of those guys that was ball dominant. Obviously they had Cooper Flagg, they had some really good players. Duke had 2 top 10 picks, so for being kind of like more of a role player with potential, I think that he put up some good numbers, not inflated stats. And while the free throw numbers weren't perfect, you can live with that. That's something you can develop. What really stood out to me was his catch and shoot ability, his off-ball movement, and his ability to play smart, controlled basketball. And add that to the fact that he's signing a multi-year NBA contract and not a two-way, that tells you exactly what the Cavs think of him, even right now, before he has played a minute of basketball or has even been in training camp. This isn't just a flyer, this is someone they believe will contribute, and they need him to. And beyond the stats, you can see the maturity in his game. He plays with a poise that you don't always see in second round picks. He knows when to attack, when to defer, when to get other guys involved, and then when to just slow down his game. He doesn't force the issue, he doesn't get too sped up, and in a league where pace and poise are everything, that's a really valuable skill set. And you know what that reminds me of? Ty Jerome. Playing at your own pace and control, knowing what you can and can't do, not trying to do too much, not trying to be a hero. It's just good basketball. And then came pick 58, and man, I'm still not over it. Honestly, I kind of didn't like Niang because there were a few other guys that I wanted, but at the end of the day, it is just pick 58. You can probably just pick up anyone that you wanted. Obviously, there was Grant Nelson, there was Sears. They weren't projected to get drafted, but I love Grant Nelson. He's in Alabama, and I went to March Madness and watched him play. He was injured, and he still made a big impact in the game and helped them beat Oral Roberts. Obviously, I'm not going to be like mad if they don't get him, but I kind of like him as a player. There's also a few other guys that I want to talk about, but Niang is definitely a stash guy. His name's Solonang or Solunang. I don't know how to really say it yet. He's a project big who's staying overseas for the foreseeable future. And look, I get it. From a business perspective, it makes sense. You don't want to load up the cap sheet if you're not going to play someone. But come on, you don't want to load up the cap sheet if you're not going to play someone. But come on, man, there were still real players on the board. There were real centers who could come in, sit on the bench, learn and develop, and at least be like in the building. I've said this over and over, but the Cavs needed to draft a center. I wasn't even asking for a day one contributor. I was just hoping for somebody you can work with, somebody you can kind of shape up. And what kills me is that Vladislav Golden was right there. And this isn't hindsight. I actually was really hoping for Golden before the pick was even made. And what happens? He goes undrafted and then signs with Miami, a team that just always finds value. Always. They continue to do it. I know they don't get the big free agents that all the fans want, like Kevin Durant, but they do sign value. I remember Jaime Jaquez. There's a few names really that I can mention off the top of my head. So that one hurt. It really hurt because with where the Cavs are at right now, the limited cap space, the looming contract decisions, the fact that you're going to have to make do with vet minimums and two ways, you can't afford to miss on value. You have to maximize your second rounders, and in my opinion, they didn't do that at pick 58. Now again, no disrespect to Niang at all. I'm just tired of having Niangs in Cleveland. But I mean, Nikola Jokic literally, like I said, got drafted during a Taco Bell commercial, so he might end up being a great story, and you guys are going to clip this one day, but I hope that becomes the case. I hope I'm dead wrong, but we're not going to see him for at least a year or two, and by then, who knows what this roster even looks like. You're kicking the can down the road, and while that has its place, I really thought tonight was the time to act and be aggressive. And I know I'm just stating the obvious by saying this, but the Cavs front court right now is still super thin. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are your anchors. Sure, that's fine, but behind them, it's a mess. Dean Wade is not a 5. Honestly, I don't even think he should really be on the team because he's become really inconsistent with his shooting as of late. And Tristan Thompson, I love him. Obviously, he's a Cavs legend. Hopefully, they retire his number along with the rest of the 2016 starting lineup. But he's not the answer anymore. Obviously, he's just there to kind of party and be like a mentor. But you need somebody with size, rebounding instincts, rim deterrence, someone who can eat 12 to 14 minutes in a pinch without being a complete liability. And again, I'm not saying Golden was that guy from day one, but he could have at least been a step towards solving the problem. But instead, the Cavs are probably going to be sifting through the veteran minimum market, hoping to find a guy who can stick, and that's tough. That's real tough. You're looking at names like Larry Nance Jr. Honestly, I would personally love that one, as well as many of you Cavs fans, just because of the name. Bismack Biyombo's out there, Jericho Sims. There's some serviceable dudes, but they're not guaranteed to sign here. And now with Proctor likely eating into that backcourt depth, that's another spot taken. So where do you find room for improvement? How do you fill out the rest of the roster without breaking the bank? The truth is, the Cavs are stuck right now. They don't have a lot of flexibility. Well, they're not completely stuck. Obviously, they have a great team, and they're favored to win the East, but they don't have a lot of time to figure this out. Donovan Mitchell is signed long-term now, but that means the clock is ticking on building a real contender. And when you look around the East, the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Sixers and the Knicks, they all got better. They're adding pieces. Obviously, the Celtics aren't going to have Tatum, so that kind of takes them away. And then the Pacers obviously lost Halliburton, so they might still make the playoffs and he might come back, but I don't think they're going to be near the same team. They're not going to go on a magical run like they did. And honestly, I might be overreacting to this entire thing because the Cavs could have won a championship this year. They just ran into a red-hot team with a magical story. It was just unfortunate. They were just finding bizarre ways to win. It was absolutely crazy. But the Cavs did need to come out tonight with a little juice, and I just don't think they did outside of Proctor. But I'm absolutely hyped about Proctor. I don't want to downplay that. I think that was a steal of a pick.